This is one of the darkest comics I've ever read. Remember when Absolute Bane completely destroyed Batman? Well, that was nothing compared to what he did to Batman's friends. It's seriously crazy. The story starts off with Batman and Absolute Killer Croc, and that's where things get even darker. Keeping in mind that Batman had basically rescued Juan Jones while he was on the island, but not before Waylon Jones was transformed into essentially Killer Croc. And so initially, because of the fact that they were such close friends at some point, Juan Jones is just like, "You need to save me, right? Like I saved you now, you save me." And initially Batman takes this to mean like, we'll find a cure. We'll figure out a way to fix you. The response of Juan is no. That's not what I'm talking about, right? The hunger, Bruce. It hurts too much, save me. Right? It's not save me. It's end me. And initially Batman's just kind of like, like he doesn't know how to handle. Now, of course, at that point, Juan Jones is just like, do it, right? End me. Like I do not want to suffer anymore. But Bruce can't bring himself to do it, right? He can't bring himself to end his friend. And the response of Juan is like, if you won't, I will. And he goes to take the dagger out of Batman's hand, right? And of course, Batman kicks out of his hand. He's like, that's not going to happen. Juan Jones roars like crazy, right? I mean, he's pissed off to no end. And then he just says, I should have left you in that place. And takes off, right? So here's the crazy thing is that this is not going to be the first time that Bruce has to go through this. His friends blaming him for everything that happened, because now he's starting to come to the reality of exactly what it was that he had done. And so, what you end up doing is you pick up with himself and Selina Kyle as they're basically exploring a kind of new apartment for themselves. Now this is a flashback, right? Hence the reason why it looks the way it does, but it's kind of a romantic moment between the two, right? The idea that they're essentially starting a life together, right? The landlord says that the first of the month is due on signing, and then as long as the details checked out that they're both good to go, right? There's no pets, no cats, anything like that. And so it was kind of like, okay, cool, right? We'll take it, right? That's the immediate response. The funny thing about this is that Selina Kyle knows Bruce Wayne well enough to know when he's hiding something, when he's not really talking about what it is that he's bothering him, and she figures that out pretty quickly. So she's like, reveal it, like what's going on? And they're talking about the fight between Juan Jones and Bibbo Babowski, right? That was the whole thing that Bruce was kind of helping him out with when they were younger, that Waylon Jones had a crisis of confidence. He didn't really know if he could win the boxing match. But these little tidbits are exceedingly important because they kind of help to build up the relationships between all these various characters. And one of the cool things about this, right? That when he's talking to Selina, he says, it's Juan, right? I don't know what to do. And she says like, did you tell him the truth? And he says he's not going to listen, right? I know him. He really believes that he can win. And so the response of Selina, then help him, right? And Bruce is like, how? And it's one of the most important pieces of advice that she gives him, right? The same way we got this spot. If the rules aren't fair, stop playing by them. Make up your own set of rules. And that's kind of a true statement. At the end of the day, no one really cares how you win. On paper, they care. But in the real world, no one really cares how you win so long as you win. And so what you end up doing is you pick up with Bruce Wayne in the aftermath of him recovering from everything, with Killer Croc and all that kind of stuff. Because keep in mind, there were the whole surgical enhancements that were done. All kinds of things that had happened. The guy had almost no sleep whatsoever. And so what he finds out in talking to Alfred is when he asks, how long have I been out? Alfred says, it's been 20 days since I found you collapsed on the floor of this place. And he's like, 20 days? Right? And that's where Alfred's like, yeah, right. And you need a hell of a lot more. The things they did to your body. I'm not even sure that you fully comprehend. He says there's a delivery system woven into your spine and brain all loaded with that compound venom, and there's no telling what it could do to you. But of course, Bruce Wayne being Bruce Wayne is like dismissive of it all. Right? He's like, I'm fine. But here's the important thing that Alfred tells him. He says, no, right, you need to hear this. What you did, things have changed now, right? You're in it, do you understand? But again, Bruce isn't really picking up on everything that Alfred's saying. So he's kind of dismissive yet again, right? He says, I get it. Now I'm gonna need you to move, and just kind of goes out there. Now the venom kind of starts working through his system, but it's not this huge, crushing type of thing, right? It's not like he just amps up in the same way that Bane does. Instead, it just kind of momentarily bothers him, for lack of a better word. Headaches, if you want to call it that. But then he goes back home, and the first person he sees is his mom. And Mama Bear's pissed, right? She is 8 kinds of pissed off, right? She's pissed that she's worried. 1, because she thought something happened to him, right? But 2, she's glad to see that he's alive, right? Because one thing you never do is piss off Mama Bear. And she literally says, right, I was so scared of getting that phone call again. Every time it rang. And then with what happened to Ozzy, and that's where Bruce starts to find out. Bane went after his friends. Now we already knew that, right? We knew that from the last issue that we covered of Absolute Batman, where we got the origin story of Bane, right? The origin of Bane kind of coincided with what he was doing in that moment, which was going after Batman's friends. We didn't find out what he did, but we're going to find out here, because what ends up happening is Batman goes to the hospital to visit Oswald Cobblepot, right? One of his closest friends. And he tells Commissioner Gordon, you know, I'm glad he kept an eye out for my mom. Like, I really appreciate it. And Gordon even tells him, he says, you're family, son. And the truth is, looking at you, if I was still commissioner, I'd arrest you before I let you walk out of this place without a doctor checking you out. But you know, and that's again where it kind of steps in. You know, I'm seeing as I'm commissioner now, right? I'm going to do you a favor here, Wayne, out of respect for Jimmy. So they give him 5 minutes to go in and visit. But here's a crazy thing. Dr. Leslie Tompkins tells him, right? She's like, did anyone explain, right? He just says, you know, just let me see him. And she's like, but I have to warn you, Bruce, I've never seen anything like it. And Oswald is just crumpled down to virtually nothing. He's like a wadded up human piece of paper. And that's where she just says, whoever did this, right, is an abomination. And here's the crazy thing. When Bane shows up here and meets his friends, the response of Oswald, right? Like, who the hell are you supposed to be? And Bane just grabs him, right? And he just says, you want so badly to be big, don't you? Right? The pink gym raw muscles, the lifts in your shoes. And that's where Leslie kind of fills him in on what happened to Oswald. She says, whoever did this, they broke nearly every bone in Oswald's body, some in multiple places, but somehow they did it in a way that missed each vital organ. It was precise, surgical, cruel beyond measure. If Oswald lives, he'll be almost 2 feet shorter in his hands and his feet. It'll be hard, Bruce. A life of constant pain. And so that's how Oswald becomes the Penguin. Instead of being born with this disfigurement, he's literally crushed by Bane's bare hands into a twaft shorter version of himself. And that's where Bruce is like, I'll just do whatever I can, right? Like we all will. Has Harvey come by? And that's where Dr. Tompkins is like, did they not tell you what happened to Harvey Dent? Right? And he's like, what happened to Harvey Dent? And she's like, he's in the next room. Now here's the most crushing thing for Harvey Dent, right? She says, it's bad, Bruce. Right? 3rd to 4th degree burns across the left side of his body, straight 50%. But what's worse, they crushed his skull, cracked it down the center. When the police found him, his head was basically laying in 2 separate parts. And that's where he just kind of says the name Flass, right? And Bruce goes to greet him. And then he absolutely gets torn apart by Harvey, because Harvey asks, do you remember that one truant cop when we were kids? Bruce Flass, right? Always 1 step ahead, no matter how stealthy we tried to be. And when he caught you, he got that look, right? Like, I see you. Do you remember that guy? And Bruce says, of course I remember. And he says, like he knew all the crap that you were hiding in me. He had this special hate for me. You're fooling yourself, he'd say. He says, you stick with these losers, they'll bring you down hard. Flask would always say he was right. Right. He was right. Because what happened is Bane crushed this guy. And the way that Bane does it is kind of insane. Once he snatches up Harvey, he says, let me guess, right? The big brother of the little group, the protector, and yet you're also destined to be the traitor because your friends, they're all outlaws. And you, with your principles, your ambition, those eyes, you established this ritual long ago, didn't you? This poker game, a safe place where the stakes are void, where you can be both forever. Outlaw and lawman, friend and enemy, a microcosm, gambling for plastic coins, all pretend. And he says, but the time for pretending is over. And that's where he had grabbed him, put his face down into the alcohol, and threw a match on the ground and set half his face on fire. And so that's where you kind of jump back to Harvey, right? Talking to him. And Harvey says, I heard that he's retired somewhere, right? Flask, Metropolis, Gateway City. I should probably look him up. And where Bruce tries to apologize, he says, you know, it's all my fault. The response of Harvey, yes. Yes, it is. You gambled for real, Bruce. You put it all out there, your friends, your city, everything, all the chips. Now get out of here. And if it's any consolation, I only hate you half the time. So it's one of the most crushing things to know that you set your friends on this path. But it's even more crushing to find out that your friends hate you for it. They recognize the fact that Bruce did this to them. And that's kind of the crazy thing here, is because at that point, Bruce goes to visit Eddie, right? He goes to see Edward Nygma. And when he sees him just kind of sitting there at a computer, he's like, okay, cool. Like, you're okay, right? Everything's fine. Like, I thought that you may have been hurt too. But the response of Nygma, who got the worst of it all, he says, no, he didn't hurt me. In fact, he was very gentlemanly, right? He challenged me to a friendly battle of wits. He said that if I won, he'd let me kill him. He even handed me his gun. Can you believe it? And so he says, Bane told me, right? I'll bet you like riddles. And so Bruce asks, right? Like, what did you do? And the response of Nygma, he says, it only took Bane a minute to beat me. And before I knew it, he was shaking my head, slamming the front of my brain into my skull. The frontal lobe, the part responsible for intelligence, just bang, right? It was absolutely wild, Bruce. Like, bang. And then suddenly facts became questions. Questions everywhere. And so he says, no, Bruce, he didn't hurt me at all. He helped me. He was challenging me. Maybe he was challenging all of us to become more. Become what we were meant to be. Because his whole head has basically just been replaced with machinery. Now even his physical brain is sticking out of the back of this makeshift helmet. And that's a crazy thing, because in that moment, the venom kind of starts running its course again. And that's where Enigma tells Bruce, right? It looks like he challenged you too. So, riddle me this. What are you going to do about it? And that's the crazy thing, because at that point you jump to the past. I told you guys, this comic is insanity. Specifically when you have Bruce and Selina in them, who go and meet with Carmine Falcone, or Falcone as I like to call him. And initially he's just kind of like, okay, so I know who you are, right? You're Wan Jones' trainer, aren't you? Right. Let me guess. You want Bibbo to go easy on your boy? Or maybe you're looking to cash out altogether. And he says, I guess Croc's less of a crocodile and more of a crock of crap. And that's where Bruce is just like, what's in the bag is a gesture, right? Some of the finest gold work in the city. And initially Falcon's just like, I mean, how do I even know it's real? And the response of Bruce, maybe because it's yours, stolen from apartments you own. And initially Falcone's just kind of like, what are you talking about? And he's like, we're not looking to cash out. We're looking to raise. And so what this is designed to do is to illustrate the fact that over the course of Bruce's life, he's always had this just kind of reckless attitude, always willing to up the ante to do whatever it takes to make sure he wins, because the consequences were never really anything significant for him. It never really hurt him. The problem was always just over there. And if the problem is over there, then the problem might as well not exist, because you don't have to see it or deal with it on a regular basis. But now it came to a head. Now the problems are real. And his actions have direct consequences for the people that are closest to him. Now things have reached the breaking point. The problems are real, and Bruce's choices are directly hurting the people closest to him. Back in the Batcave, Bruce tells the Red Hood gang over the phone, stand down, it's over, everything is done. They try to argue, but he ends the call. That's when Bruce breaks down and admits the truth. He says, you were right. When Black Mask made that offer, I didn't even think about it. I didn't see what was really happening. Alfred asks if this means Bruce is shutting everything down, and Bruce replies, he broke them, Pennyworth, my friends, he broke them all. And the important part? Black Mask warned Bruce this would happen. Do you guys remember that moment? He told Batman, you don't know what's coming. If you beat me, if you destroy me, you'll just be handing the city over to someone even worse. They'll send him after you, and when that happens, he'll destroy everyone and everything you love. But Bruce didn't believe him. To Bruce, it just sounded like the crazy talk of a villain who didn't know what he was saying. Now, though, Bruce is starting to realize that choices have consequences. That's why Alfred tells him, "Yeah, he did warn you. The question is, are you going to let it break you? You chose this path, Bruce. I told you. You're in it now. Everything has changed, and there's no going back. The only way out is through. Get ready, because it's only going to get worse." Then it happens. Someone breaks through the hatch. Alfred warns him, "It's Bane. Bane is coming for you." Bruce's answer? If he really wants a war, let's give him one. And then Alfred pulls out a minigun. Yes, Alfred has a minigun, and he's walking the halls like Jesse Ventura from Predator, ready to mow down anyone who crosses his path. Against someone like Bane, that's about the best chance you can get. But suddenly a rope drops down, grabs Alfred, and knocks him out. Batman spins around and sees Alfred unconscious. And who's standing there? Absolute Catwoman. And with that, guys, we'll wrap this video up. This story is wild, but believe it or not, it's not even the craziest thing coming. Did you see the interview where Snyder said Absolute Scarecrow is on the way? Trust me, if you thought this was bad, Absolute Scarecrow is going to be pure nightmare fuel. I can't wait. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like and I'll catch you all later.